guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's only been a couple of weeks because I think I had things scheduled. So just a little catch up if you're not on my Facebook. I haven't really been, you'll probably notice I haven't really been commenting on videos, watching videos. The last thing that happened was my dad went to Spain and had an accident, ended up in hospital with a really bad concussion. Once we managed to get him home, my mum ended up in hospital. Her MS took a very dramatic downturn. She can't really speak properly. She has loads of detail that I'm not going to go into, but she was in an extremely bad way. She has been released from hospital, but she's still not in a good way. We're having a lot of trouble with carers and hoists and slings and 101 things, occupational therapists not doing their job properly. It's a bit of a minefield, and me and my dad are trying to muddle through as best as we can. So I'm not about as much as usual. I won't really be watching very much while all of this is going on, until we can try and make changes to my mum's care plan and all of that stuff. But I'm here. Thank you so much for the lovely comments I've received from people, even the WhatsApp messages. I received just one today from Jim Jam. Thank you so much. I will answer that. It just come through very recently. But thank you so much for your messages and concern, folks. It's much appreciated. So what I'm here to do today is a catch up with what I have watched so far in the month of October. I will try to get through this as quick as possible. Today is the first free day I have had in probably 2 weeks, probably more actually, to be fair. So I'm trying to get a video out there so there's something for people to watch. And I have watched quite a few big movies because the hospital is 2 minutes away from a cinema. So I did avail of that when I was visiting every day that I was up. So let's kick off screen recorder so you can see my letterbox on what I have been watching. Right, so you can see there on the 1st of October I watched the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. This is, hang on, is that the actual documentary? Yeah, I think no, that's not. That is Monsters. That is I watched the documentary about this also. This is the Netflix dramatization. I knew this story really well with my interest in true crime. Do we feel that they were telling the truth? Do we not? I go back and forth on this story. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel one of the brothers, as in the UK case of the Jamie Bulger killers, one of them very much was the influence that I don't think the other party would have got there without one of the two being very fucked up in the head, is the only way I can put it. I go back and forth on it, but we're not there to talk about that. So on the 5th, I went to the cinema to see Joker 2, Folie à Deux. There's going to be a bit of noise in the background. My husband's just taking the dogs for a walk. I enjoyed this movie. I gave it a 3 out of 5, as you can see. I am in the I love Lady Gaga camp. I thought she was fabulous. I've even heard people say she can't act, which is just rubbish. The woman's acting is fabulous. Have you seen A Star is Born? Have you seen her portrayal in American Horror Story? She's a fabulous singer, songwriter, and I feel a fantastic actress. I really like the realism she brought to the character, the darkness. Yes, I know everyone prefers Margot Robbie, or most people seem to, but I find her portrayal, while, yeah, okay, maybe more accurate to the comic book, very sort of like high energy, giggly, feminine. I preferred Lady Gaga's portrayal personally. She was that bit steeped in realism. You didn't know what she was going to do next. You didn't know, you know, like that famous scene with the fire that she starts. It's just like a little aspect of her personality thrown in there, and it just seemed very realistic to me. Joaquin Phoenix was fabulous, as he always is. I did actually, now I remember doing a review for this, so I won't go into much detail. I'm torn with this. I will echo what Jamie Powell said. The longer it sits with me, the more I appreciate it. I was very shocked with the direction they went at the end and why they chose to do that, because the first movie is fabulous and it kind of like, I felt, took away from the first movie. But I feel if you rewatch the movies with this new insight that we have, that you can maybe take more from it, something else from it. So it sits better with me. I think a 3 out of 5 is my personal score, but I think the movie is a better made movie than 3 out of 5. It's very well made and acted. I did feel there was too much singing. I was fine until about 3/4 way through, and then I'm like, will you shut up forever? You know, enough now. Deliver me script. Tell me what's happening. I was especially frustrated when the two characters meet up near the end of the movie on the steps, and he's desperate to get her to speak to him, to tell her what she's thinking, and she starts singing, and I'm like, stop it. So yeah, 3 out of 5. I think I enjoyed it more than most people did. This is going to be a long one, guys. I apologise. The Platform 2. Okay, this is on Netflix at the moment. I love the first movie. This is the concept of there are many, many different floors where there is a table that comes down through a hole in the floor. You can see from the image there, the square or the rectangular hole. The table comes down laden with food, and at each level, the idea is you're only supposed to take what's yours to eat, and there should be enough for everyone, but life's not that way. People on higher floors eat more. They have maybe previously been on lower floors. They're half starving. They get the opportunity. They gorge. The platform goes down and people on the lower floors have nothing and they're starving. So that's the kind of basic premise of the first one leading on to the second. I believe the second one is actually a prequel to the first. It was nowhere near as enjoyable as the first. Maybe the first was such an original concept, so new and fresh, and this just rehashed the idea. But I didn't feel that we got as close to the characters in this as we did in the first. I feel there was a lot of build up to nothing much happening. I feel certain things weren't explained properly that I needed to Google afterwards, and it's like, well, I didn't get that. I didn't, you know, I'm maybe not like the most intelligent person in the world, but neither am I the thickest person in the world. And I felt a lot of the stuff wasn't really obvious, especially with regards to kids that were in the second one. 2.5 out of 5. I liked it, but compared to the first, absolutely nowhere near. It's What's Inside. What's that one? Nobody is leaving the same as they came. A pre-wedding party. Ah, yes. Right, okay. This is one that I wasn't even aware of until it was brought up by Shawn from Lost in the Reel, who did a dual review with another channel, of which I've forgotten the name. I'm terrible. I will put it in the comments if I remember. This is a really interesting concept, this movie. I just wanted more from it. It follows it's like Shawn says, you can't really. This follows a group of young adults who are meeting up together because one of them's getting married. Some of them haven't seen each other in a long time. I feel if you liked Bodies, 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 you might enjoy this because you know the way the characters in that movie weren't that likable? It's the same in this one. The characters, if you want to root for someone, you're probably not going to do it in this one. The performances are all excellent. Everybody's fabulous in this. But someone appears a little bit later with some technology that can do something that is a little bit otherworldly, what it can do. I cannot tell you what it can do without spoiling the entire premise of this movie. I would say 100% this is worth your time. It was worth watching. It's very novel. It's very different. I would have just liked to have seen things explored a little bit more. I would be really interested to see a follow-up to this movie with more detail and more background and more what happened next and explaining certain things. But yeah, I enjoyed it. 3 out of 5. Just wanted more from it, and the characters were not likable, but they were not meant to be. So yeah, I do recommend that you check that one out. The Menendez Brothers, I'll not open that. That's a documentary on the case that we've already spoken about. People basically are saying it's been a long time. These guys shouldn't still be in prison. They should be released. And it's basically discussing that and discussing should they ever have been put in prison in the first place. They were victims of abuse. Yada yada. This next one was so desperately disappointing. Right, I have been waiting on this movie for what seems like forever. This movie stars Peter Dinklage and Juliette Lewis, both of whom I adore. This is really novel because Juliette Lewis plays an outlaw, a Wild West outlaw. I'm not going to tell you who. And Peter Dinklage is a little bit of a character, always wanting to make a quick buck. Someone hires him to carry out some revenge, or to help him carry out revenge on an act that happens near the beginning of the movie. And this movie follows these characters and a couple of other characters as they go about trying to exact revenge. They are trying to get to Juliette Lewis. She's the bad girl in this. Peter Dinklage is trying to help this young lad exact his revenge, not because he's a decent person, but because there's a quick buck to be made. The performances are really good. As always, can't fault them. Juliette Lewis is unrecognisable, and her voice is like, oh my god, you must have, like, were you smoking 60 cigarettes a day to get this voice? What have you done? The storyline just went nowhere. I was really disappointed. It was very slow, it was very dull, and to have names like that in there that I personally adore so much, I was so disappointed by. The next evening, Azrael, this has been another I've been waiting for a while because everyone seems to be talking about it. So this is set after the rapture. This is a community of females in the woods. Let me see. In a world where no one speaks, so no one's allowed to talk. I think they maybe, do they have their vocal cords cut or something? Anyway, they can't speak. A devout female hunts down a young woman who has escaped her imprisonment. Recaptured by its ruthless leaders, Azrael is due to be sacrificed to pacify an ancient evil deep within the surrounding wilderness. So this one follows Samara Weaving stars in it, so it's very much like Knives Out. It's, you know, it's not got any humour in it at all, but it's about her trying to evade being caught through the whole movie. And there is like a supernatural, like a demon in this also that wants to capture her. It wants to eat anything that moves, to be fair, but it specifically wants her. This movie had some really interesting ideas. I probably could do with rewatching it, and I probably will. The gore that it has is fabulous. It's really, really good, really realistic, very like, oh, just what you want as a horror fan. Her performance is fabulous. I just feel something was missing to take it from, oh, that was alright, to that was really good. I maybe need a rewatch, but certain things weren't explored that I wish had have been. I wasn't in any way disappointed by what I saw visually. I thought it was fantastically put together, but I wanted to care more about her, and I didn't. Again, is that my mood when I watched it? Let me know below if you've seen Azrael and what your thoughts were. 3 out of 5. Also taking into consideration, when I've been watching all these movies this month, I've been desperately distracted by life in general, so that may be the excuse. If you hear me saying, well, it was alright about something you thought was brilliant, please let me know, guys. I will get to all your comments. You maybe think I will. It just takes me a while to get the time to sit down and do it, but I always get to my comments eventually. Salem's Lot. Why did I not listen to everyone else that reviewed this? This is obviously a remake of the very effective, fantastic original Salem's Lot. It adds nothing. Even the scenes that are completely replicated, like the outside the window one, it doesn't pack any of the same punch. It doesn't have that air of tension. I feel movies like Salem's Lot and the series It back in the day, although I really like the new It movies, The Shining, I feel they had this underlying air of ominous that... Ominous? That's not what... Ominous air that is really hard to replicate. I think Hereditary did it really well, but this one doesn't have any of that, and it's like, how can you make Salem's Lot and it not have that? That's so integral to this. Pet Cemetery is another one. No, let's not talk about that remake, although I like the twist they put on it. That was the only thing I liked. So Salem's Lot, I gave that a 2 out of 5. It's watch the original, guys. There's nothing to say here. The Sapphires. Okay, this was on Netflix. I watched this because it has that dude there whose name's gone. Chris O'Dowd. So he's an Irish actor who I really like from the IT Crowd, which is a series that cracks me. I love the IT Crowd. I watched this because I wanted something easy to watch that wasn't going to be too taxing. This is about a band in the 60s. This is a true story, which is always from me. Young, talented Australia Aboriginal girls learn about love, friendship and war when they entertain US troops in Vietnam as a singing group called the Sapphires. So this guy in this tiny little backwoods town discovers these girls and he's like, wow, they have a real talent, and he manages to get them one way or another on a tour to entertain the troops in Vietnam. And this is basically following their story. 3 out of 5, I enjoyed it. It was good. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was interesting, and I really enjoyed seeing all the real pictures at the end of the real people. I like the style of it. It was very understated. I like Chris O'Dowd as an actor. I just find him very warm, very personable. I like the realism of his acting, very down to earth. So yeah, I would say if you like music biography type things, check that one out. It's on Netflix. It wasn't too bad. Will and Harper. Oh my god, this was fabulous. So this is not going to be for everyone, unfortunately. This follows Will Ferrell, who, now does it say the name there? Well, it just says Harper. So Wilson has a friend that he knew for many years when he first started in the business, who actually stuck up for him when other people were like, who is this Will Ferrell? He's crap, he's rubbish. And his friend stuck up for him, supported him. What has happened is, this is on Netflix by the way, and it's a documentary. His friend, much later in life, began transitioning male to female, and her name is Harper. And she was very nervous about calling people that had known her for many years and saying, okay, I'm transitioning, I'm Harper, you know, basically allowing people in. And Will was one of these people that she emailed and told what was happening. So he set out with her across the US to go to places that Harper, when she was living as a man, went to without a thought, without ever worrying, without second guessing anything. Normal bars all over the US. But they wanted to redo this journey with Harper as her authentic self as a woman. And find how different people in different places would react to her. And it's very eye-opening in the different parts of the US, how people reacted, how also people reacted to Will Ferrell and his support of his friend. You very much got people in two camps of now they absolutely hate him because they're supporting a trans woman, or very much in the camp that I'm in of I like Will Ferrell. I've always liked Will Ferrell, but I have such a newfound respect for him after having watched this. And it shows mistakes he makes, and it shows things he says, and it shows Harper being misgendered in a restaurant by waiting staff that weren't doing it on purpose, but made a mistake that I would imagine a lot of people in Harper's position have run into time and time again. And it just shows those difficulties that people that don't live in this situation or don't have to deal with any of this, that were lucky enough to be assigned the correct gender at birth. So this Will and Harper showcased to me something that would never be something in my understanding, but something I'm very interested in. And it showed what she has to live with, what she has to deal with, even from people that have no bad intention. This constant kick in the stomach of being misgendered purely because of how she looks, of how she doesn't, to whoever, fulfill this particular criteria. And I loved that it showed Will tripping up and making mistakes and trying too hard and making her feel embarrassed, and it didn't cut that out. It showed that. And it showed the tweets and stuff coming through after they went together, and I think it was a steakhouse, and they had to eat as much as they could. And I'm fucking hell, this is going to be an hour long, this. And they said they felt like they were in a goldfish bowl and everyone was staring at them and not in a nice way. And the tweets and Google things that came in the next day were just hideous. But for me, there's a moment in this when they've done their journey and they've done everything and it's come to a close. And Will Ferrell buys her a gift. Now, I thought it was just me, and I've read other people's reviews about it, and every single person that I've read the review, it's like, oh, it killed me. It made me ugly cry. It's like, this isn't a spoiler, it's a documentary. At the end of the journey, Will Ferrell buys Harper a gift and gives her the gift, and they're sat on a beach. And the gift is a pair of diamond earrings. And you're going, well, what's sad about that? It was just such a beautiful thing to do. It's such a feminine gift. It's such a... something from him to his friend. I see you for who you are, as the woman that you are. Here is a beautiful, feminine, gorgeous gift for you as a woman from me, your friend. And it was just such a beautiful gesture, such a beautiful, give me them fucking diamond earrings, just such a beautiful, feminine, gorgeous gift, and it said so much in one thing. It's like, oh, that's just so nice. And I'm sure something that she really treasures to receive from him. It was just a beautiful moment. And it's a beautiful documentary, really, really eye-opening. And a very important thing I feel that we should watch. Now, how many of you have clicked off that you people that get irritated at other people living their lives? It's none of your business, you know what I mean? I don't get how people get irritated at what people want to be called, at what labels they want to use, at what difference does that make to your life? What other people, you know, it's like, give over. You get on with your life and let other people get on with theirs. Okay, the next, his three daughters, right? It actually took me a little bit to get into this. And if you've tried to watch this and then you've thought, ugh, and you haven't, I encourage you to give it a try when you're in the right mood. This follows Carrie Coon, Natasha Lyonne, and Elizabeth Olsen, who are three sisters who are very, very different, who have come together because their father is dying. They've come together in his apartment and they're trying to sort things out, and they're all dealing with things in very different ways. And this is about their relationship. It's about the differences. It's about the separation between them. It's about their different relationships with their father, their relationships with their families that they have, their viewpoints of each other, and trying to come together in this really somber occasion in life where their dad is dying. Very well acted, very, very good movie. Very slow, but if you like a character study drama type thing with good acting, I thought it was excellent. It's called His Three Daughters, and that is on Netflix at the moment as well. Apartment 7A. This is like a rehash of Rosemary's Baby, basically. Rosemary was not the first. A struggling young dancer finds herself drawn in by dark forces when a peculiar, well-connected older couple promise her a shot at fame. If you watch this, you'll hold wait, this is Rosemary's Baby, what's going on? Why am I watching Rosemary's Baby again? But it's not as effective as Rosemary's Baby. It was okay. I gave it a 3. It was well made. It was well acted. Had I not seen Rosemary's Baby, I would have enjoyed it more, but it's basically a remake of Rosemary's Baby in my eyes. Never Let Go. Is this the one in the forest with Halle Berry? Yes. So this follows Halle Berry and her 2 sons who are in the middle of a forest. As an evil takes over the world beyond their front doorstep, the only protection for a mother and her twin sons is their house and their family's protective bond. So when they leave the house, they have to be tethered to the house by a rope. The only way they will not be caught by this evil entity is if they are either tethered or they're back in the home. And the question throughout this is this happening? Is this Halle Berry's mental illness that she's dragged her sons into? Very interesting. I really enjoyed it. I know not everyone's digging this one, but I really liked this. I thought Halle Berry was fabulous. The young actors in it, brilliant. Anthony B. Jenkins, William Catlett, Percy Daggs IV. I don't know who's who because I'm me and I don't look up these things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. My arse is going to sleep on this wooden chair. Oof. Tusk. Right, I have wanted to see Tusk for years because people keep talking about it. I do like, what's the guy's name that's in it, that's in everything right now? Justin Long. I've heard this is going to be one you either really like or you really don't like. I come down in the camp of really not liking. It was too weird. It was awful, but it was like I couldn't get myself into his mind space as to what this must be like. And when you think about what they do to him, it's awful. But they kind of try and make it funny. And that's where I struggle with the comedy horror in that instance. If they had have done this in a more Human Centipede, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'd have loved it with a real serious edge, but this is done with the sort of like just a lot of people love that. I'm just not one of those kind of people. It doesn't work for me. I don't like humour injected into this kind of thing. And I found it desperately sad, especially the ending was desperately sad. And I'm like, but they've made it funny and it's so sad and so horrific. So yeah, it's basically about Justin Long's character being turned into something by someone. If you haven't seen it, it's very weird. Yeah, it is just, it's weird and I can't tell you what it's about. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. You can probably work it out. Tusk is turned into something. Eternal You, oh, I don't even need to open that. That's like, I thought this would be really interesting. This is on Netflix. It's a documentary about AI. Startups are using AI to create avatars that allow relatives to talk with their loved ones after they have died. So they sort of like upload personalities and speech and how the person looks. And I thought it would be really interesting. And it wasn't. It was all about the mechanics of it. There was nothing about how people feel about, let's look at this person talking to someone that's passed for the first time and get their reaction. The emotion behind it was what I wanted to hear, and that wasn't what it was about at all. It was more about the ethics of it and should they be doing it and how they do it, and that wasn't the side of things I particularly wanted to see. Right, Unfightable. I've spent 10 to 15 minutes trying to explain why I disagree with this program or this documentary. It was so one-sided, and the person they used to argue the other side was so stupid and picked because he was so stupid. I find it really hard to discuss this, and I'm not putting it up in a public forum for people to just take it one way and run with it. Right, Curse of the Sin Eater. This is one that I heard Leo from Geek Legion of Gym and Aaron from Screen Stars talk about, and it sounded really interesting. And it is. It's a really interesting little movie, this. So this follows a young lad. He's a construction worker. He's down on his luck. He's not got much money. He enters into a pact with this old rich man in a house that he's working on. Makes a deal with a dying business mogul to inherit billions, only to discover that he has been cursed by the man's terrifying sins. Now that is maybe telling you more than it should, but that is in the... Basically, if you're happy saying, right, if you're a person out there that like, there's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no nothing, and this guy says to you, right, I will give you my millions and millions and millions and this big swanky mansion if you will take the repercussions of the sins that I've carried out in my life. Obviously, most young lads are going to say, bring it on, where's the fucking pain? And that is the premise of this movie, and it's very, very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. I would recommend Curse of the Sin Eater. Terrifier 3. Okay, we know I'm going to watch Terrifier 3, aren't we? Right. Terrifier 3, to me, art was fabulous, as art always is. David Howard Thornton is a genius. The kills were incredible. The special effects were so realistic. I've banned my son from watching it. He wants to see Terrifier. I won't let him watch it. My husband's like, but it's not. I'm like, what? No. I draw the line at Terrifier. It's too much. He's 13. No. I've said, go watch Scream. Go watch Halloween. I would even rather you watch Saw movies than this. I said, yeah. The special effects in Terrifier 3, my concern is he would see something he couldn't unsee and give himself just recurrent, or like someone of 13's brain's not properly developed yet, and I don't know what seeing something like this would do to it. I know people will have different opinions, but I draw the line at letting my 13-year-old see the Terrifier movies. Maybe because it glorifies violence, you know, Art laughs and points when he's done something, and as an adult and as a horror lover, that's very funny, and we all laugh at that. As a 13-year-old boy, I rather he didn't watch it, to be honest. I don't want his brain developing up thinking that that's normal, you know what I mean? It's hard to explain. I watched, and my husband watched, a lot of horrors growing up, but nothing... You'd have to have been watching really gnarly video nasties to be at the level of Terrifier. And the special effects in number 3 were so good, were so spot on. That specific scene with the couple, Jesus wept, with a lad. If you had a bit of an issue with the fact that they always seem to use women, that fixed that, didn't it? It was gnarly, and the special effects were out of this world. I thought the storyline was very weak, but I thought the same about the first two movies. I love the Terrifier movies because it is what it says on the tin. It's a slasher. It's not meant to be thought-provoking, and it isn't thought-provoking. It's just a good old-fashioned slasher with amazing special effects and a fantastic, like, villain. So yes, I enjoyed it. Did I think it was out of this world amazing, you know, character plot and stuff? No, I didn't, but I enjoyed it. 3.5 out of 5. This was when my mum was in hospital. I was watching these. Smile 2. Enjoyed it. Thought the girl that was, what's her name that was in it? Naomi Scott. I thought she was really good. She plays a pop star that's a bit disillusioned with fame and with everything that's expected from her. We know what happens in the Smile movies. Just you kind of get cursed by the last person, and she is living with this curse, and it's about her trying to live with it and undo it. I thought it was good. The special effects were excellent again in this. The bits of gore in this were fabulous, but it didn't have the creep factor that the first one did. It wasn't ominous and it wasn't scary. It was just, it felt a bit like Final Destination without all the creative ways of dying. But if it had that sort of like teen feel about it, that just is a popcorn film for a horror fan. You know, it's easy to watch. It's, you know, it makes you giggle in places, but is it going to frighten you? Absolutely not. So that was, I prefer the first one. The Substance, right, this was a rewatch because my husband hadn't seen it, so I wanted him to watch it. He enjoyed it. He loved the last, you know, the bit that you either love or hate. Well, he absolutely loved the end and he was laughing his arse off. I do really like this. My main issue initially when I first watched this was with the message we were trying to get across. Why were we up her arse through the whole film? If I had to look at her arse one more time, it's like, right, she's got a nice behind. I know, stop showing me it. But like as people have said, obviously it's doing that to overemphasize the fixation with beauty and slimness and the female form in the juxtaposition of the monster that it can create. So I get that. It just is a bit irritating when you have to look at a perfect woman's arse for 2 hours, you know what I mean? But I get it. I get why they were doing it. I've scored it 4 out of 5. It's a fantastic movie. Demi Moore is so good in it. Yes, Margaret Qualley is fantastic also, but I think Demi Moore outshines her in this, definitely. Where did I get to? Oh, have I scrolled right down? Little Bites. Right, this is one that I think it was Ryan Raven's fan. I heard speak about this. It sounded quite interesting and it did have a really interesting premise. I just wanted more from it. So Mindy is a young widow and mother who tries to protect her daughter Alice from a flesh-eating monster named Agar. Mindy has been secretly sacrificing her own life by allowing the creature to feast on her body as she keeps Alice hidden away at her grandmother's house. This is more about mental health. They don't really go into he's not eating her. He's like biting her, but he's not taking big lumps out of her or anything. This is more about mental health, and I don't know. I gave it a 2.5. I felt it had such potential that was wasted. I thought it was okay. There was a scene with someone that Mindy brings into the house to try to satisfy Agar. And I really liked that scene. The acting in that, the lad that was acting, I really liked. Heather Langenkamp's in this too. It was okay. It was decent. It had tons of potential that I feel was wasted. So that was Little Bites. The Disappointments Room. This is on Netflix. I said when I put it on a bit, this title's going to be apt. It was. This is about a female architect who is doing up a house. She finds a little room. Historically, if rich people had children that had issues, that had disfigurements, that had whatever, they would build a room in the house that no one knew was there called the Disappointments Room, and they would keep the child in there and like just feed and water them. They'd have no stimulation, no anything, until the child would die because they were a disappointment. And she finds the Disappointments Room in her house, and the spirit of whatever happened there is haunting the house. This movie is more about grief than anything else. In like the last one was about mental health, this one's about grief, and it wasn't great, to be honest with you. 1.5 out of 5. Kinds of Kindness. Right, this is one, guys, I need your help. Do I need to rewatch this? I've put loads of Zs because that's how I felt about it. I didn't watch it all. This is a movie that I believe has 3 different stories, all played by the same characters, but they're, sorry, same actors playing different characters. I watched the first story and I started the second one, and I was really distracted by everything going on in life at the minute, and I was so bored. It wasn't grabbing me. I didn't care. I'm like, I'm bored shitless. What's going on? Is this worth watching? And I just wasn't in the mood and I switched it off. Please let me know if I need to revisit Kinds of Kindness, because reviews that I'm reading say, yeah, well, if you want to look at good acting, fine, but what was the point of the story? So I thought, am I going to waste 2 hours 45 minutes? No. So I switched it off. So let me know. Stream. I watched this because I didn't actually know this was also by Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton was in. I didn't know that. I saw a post on Facebook. I'm like, oh, right, okay, because I'd seen different people had reviewed it and I hadn't been watching videos, so I hadn't really seen the reviews, but I'd seen them pop up. I watched it. I thought it was pretty naff, to be honest. You can pick David Howard Thornton out a mile away. He's wearing a mask, but he's very, very evident. It's basically like art in a different mask. This follows a family who are staying at a motel on a little family break to try to reconnect. I will say there are bits in it that aren't expected, which I really liked. They didn't go down the usual route of what happens at the end, which I really liked, but I felt it was by the numbers. Apart from that, it was okay. The special effects in it were good. It was quite gnarly. I think it's a decent little slasher movie, but I don't think it's amazing. It's not on the level of the Terrifier movies, but it was okay. It was worth a watch. And I didn't really like to see David Howard Thornton doing exactly the same in another movie. Give us something else. I'm sure you've got more in your repertoire. I know he's a mime artist, but he needs to broaden it out now to show us something different. The Wild Robot. Okay, I had seen this advertised and it wasn't one that I'd thought about going to see because Isaac's he's 13. He's a little bit old now for wanting to watch animations. I'm never too old. I love an animation, but it was after having seen Jamie Powell's comments about this, and Matt from Vengeance Media, he also mentioned it. I'm like, right, okay, 2 men, both love this, it's an animation, let's give this some time. And I watched it, and yes, I cried. This is such a beautiful animation, it's so beautifully done. You will watch this and be like, wow, you could take scenes out of so many parts and put, frame pictures on your wall. This is about an AI intelligence robot that gets washed up on an island. Is there a hurricane or something? And something happens, it's a shipwreck. This container box gets washed up. This is the only one that's working. It calls itself Roz, and it manages to override its programming and learn to feel, learn to think outside of the AI box. And it is imprinted onto by a little chick that sees the robot. The first thing that a chick sees, it imprints as its mother. So Roz the robot is set about raising this little chick. There's so much more to the movie than that, but that is the premise, and it's beautiful. And I think you can directly take messages from this movie and place them in real life wonderfully. It was just so uplifting. It was just such a nice movie, such a lovely movie with really important messaging, but it was a joy to watch, and yes, I cried. It's not difficult to make me cry with movies at all. In real life, it's quite difficult. Well, movies, really easy, but this one did it for sure. Okay, Lee. This is starring Kate Winslet, and it is about a Vogue fashion model turned photographer, Elizabeth Lee Miller. And this is a true story. She became a war photographer in a time when women were not allowed to go to the front line. It's very much poo-pooed. Oh, you're just a woman, you shouldn't be doing this. but the English or the British weren't allowing women to the front line, but the Americans were. So she goes to the front line via America, or via the American soldiers, and she photographs some terrible stuff in the Nazi concentration camps when they're liberated. Some of the photographs you will have seen that are quite famous were taken by her. You can look up photographs as it's showing them in the movie, and they are perfect. They are shot for shot exactly like the real photograph, because I looked all the photos up afterwards. And this is about her life. Now, it's very slow. You really have to pay attention. You have to be invested and interested in the story of this woman's life. But it's very, very interesting if you are interested. But if you're not interested in what she did, who she is, then there's probably not a lot there for you to watch. But I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought the acting was sublime. I love Kate Winslet as she's got older, her acting. I really admire the fact that she hasn't gone down the route of plastic surgery and fixing herself to look a certain way, that all women seem to look like inflated wind tunnel people. And she looks her age, and she's a beautiful woman. There's a few scenes of her topless in this, and boy, she's still all woman. Yeah, so if you like that scene in Titanic, check out Miller. She's older, but still very, very beautiful. Venom: The Last Dance. We went to see this at the cinema yesterday in Belfast because it's a 15. My son's 13. He can't get in to see them, and because in our town they kind of know his age. It was my favourite of the three. It was fun. I loved where we went with it. I love how it ended. I can't say how that is if you haven't seen it. I was really surprised they had 2 people from Ted Lasso in it. What's the girl's name? I don't know what her name is, but she had a bloody American accent and it was atrocious. It's like, oh, why do they make people speak with different accents than what they've got? Let her speak how she speaks, it's fine. But it was really distracting hearing that voice come out. It's like, oh my god, I don't even know what her name is. But yeah, 2 cast members from Ted Lasso were in it. I enjoyed it. It was decent. I liked how it ended. I loved the soundtrack. Yeah, it was my favourite of the 3. So last night I watched, on Prime at the moment, is a film called Brothers. I was attracted by, obviously, Peter Dinklage is in there, also with Josh Brolin, and who is it plays their mum? Glenn Close plays their mum. Brendan Fraser's in it. So the cast is obviously fabulous. This follows twin brothers. Their mother was a bit of a criminal. She takes off when they're teenagers after having done something. Does it say in here? No, it doesn't. So she leaves. She's on the run for like the entire movie. Peter Dinklage's character is in prison. He gets out. He goes to his twin brother to try and reconnect and start another job, but his twin has gone straight. He is married. He is expecting his first baby. He wants to leave behind a life of crime, but the mother comes back on the scene and there's one final job that they want to do to live forever as wealthy men, and that's what they do. And that's what the movie's about. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I love Peter Dinklage. Excuse me. I think he's a fabulous actor and I would love to see more serious roles from him. Obviously, as Tyrion in Game of Thrones, we saw his range. Cyrano, absolutely adore everything about that movie. But he gets typecast into these like funny dwarf roles, and I wish he did more. There's been a few films he's done that are fabulous, that are very serious, and his height is not of any relevance, as it shouldn't be. But he does sort of fall into this sort of stereotypical. He's very good in it, but he's better than the movie, you know what I mean? Josh Brolin's okay, you know, pretty passable. Brendan Fraser's fabulous, as he always is. Glenn Close isn't in it all that much, but it's worth a watch. It's definitely entertaining. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And finally, last night I watched Don't Move. This is one of those like woman being chased movies. This woman is grieving. She's lost a son. She goes somewhere to like think about ending her life. This guy kind of talks her out of what she's going to do, but he wants to hunt her down. He injects her with this paralyzing agent. And believe it or not, this movie is about her trying to escape from him when she can't move. It's actually okay. It's very frustrating. It's eye-rollingly frustrating, some of the decisions. But as a movie, it's a lot better than you would expect it to be. There are other people in there along the way that try to help her, to their detriment. But it's decent. It's okay. It's worth a watch. It's nothing new. It's nothing amazingly fantastic, but it's worth watching. I gave that a 2.5 out of 5, and I think that is it. Let's go back. Yeah, that's it. So that's what I've watched so far, guys, in October. This week I am going to see a screening of Trick or Treat. On Monday night, the 28th, Fright Club Northern Ireland are doing they do horror movie screenings, a lot of which I miss out on because they're Friday nights. Well, I don't know if I said I'm now a scout leader. I'm a scout leader. So I text scouts on Friday nights, but this is on a Monday night, so there's also like a bit of a fancy dress party beforehand. We're all dressing up, as you do at Halloween. And then next Friday on Halloween night itself, we're going to Derry for the big Halloween celebration parade. I am going to see Crash Test Dummies. It is it the 30th anniversary? Or is it the 20th? I can't remember, but it's the anniversary of God Shuffled His Feet album, which is my favourite album of theirs, and they will probably be playing it in its entirety. So I will be in Derry on Halloween night watching Crash Test Dummies. Cannot wait. So it may be a while before the next video, guys. I'm not too sure. We shall see. As I say, things are very, very busy for me right now. So thank you so much for your patience. Massive apologies to people I've had to cancel streams that I was due to appear on. I'm not going to be arranging anytime soon because I don't know from one day to the next what's happening with my mum and her health right now. It is pretty bad. She could be re-hospitalised at any time. We don't know. It's just a kind of a bit of a weird time right now. But that's a catch up, guys. I know it's very long and convoluted. Apologies, but sure you can watch it in little bits at your leisure. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Over and out from Lisa Loves.